Good evening and welcome to tonight's Hearthstone Half Hour. I'm Hammy, this is Felcraft Castle. Welcome, hope you've been having a fabulous day. Tonight we are going to be jumping, because it's Wednesday, into Ladder Wednesday. We're going to be running through Control Warrior again. Now, those of you who have been tuning in regularly to the Hearthstone Half Hour, either on Twitch or on YouTube, would have spotted that not too long ago we actually did a bit of a run through of the concept of Control Warrior. We've evolved it since then. Happy to say I've played it a little bit more, so a little bit more familiar with the whole thing. And as we're at a relatively low stage of the ladder, there's no harm in jumping straight on in and doing a bit of play. But just before I actually cancel, back out, we just quickly need to summarise for you who have not had a look at this so far or have not seen the last episode what we're up to. We every Wednesday go through some ladder. We look at decks that stumble decks that we have deck listed or attempted to put together. We run through the strategy a bit and then we try and see how they perform in the ladder environment against what kind of decks we can squeeze, how many of mini games we can squeeze in sensibly within half hour or so. So Control Warrior, this is a mid-budget deck, mid-range deck you might hear some people call, and the reason for that is it is not the most legendary heavy deck. It's got quite a fair few in there, it's got a fair few rares, so it's on the more expensive end of the dust scale, but things like Illidan Storm Rage are very experimental. I might even actually drop Illidan because he's not been doing too much for me and put in something else around 6 mana that will give me a bit more pressure. But while I grab that out, I'm going to stick in Galvin Meta Talk just for fun. What the Control Warrior tries to do in the early game is keep, as it states, control of the board using lots of board clearance. You can get rid of lots of minions, you can armour yourself up, you can draw cards, that deck acceleration that we talked about in our last episode. Laying on armour is good, using the weapon to do damage is also good. The Defender of Argus will probably get dropped in favour of some bigger finishers. Then you come out in the late game with your big finishing cards that you can see here. Gromash and Ragnaros are the two big examples. So even though I put a meta talk in just for fun, just because it's you guys and we are always trying to have a bit of fun, but we'll try our best to see how we can do with winning through on this ladder as well. So about rank 17, 16, 15, I'm playing with a few different decks at the moment. I'm having a lot of fun seeing really at this level, and I know that it will get a bit different when you get probably above rank 10, a whole bunch of different decks coming out. First up we've got a priest. If you've seen a bunch of stuff that we've done before, you know that we play a lot of priest. I know that the priest is going to try and drop a few minions in the early game. He's going to try and keep me under control. He's probably then going to try and swing at me in the late game with some big minions. So my strategy, if I've got any 4 attack minions, I really want to get those down or make my minions 4 attack and keep his minions under control too. My first go, because I'm going second, I'm going to throw back that Defender of Argus for the time being, execute Cleave and Slam with an Acolyte of Pain. I've got lots of control options there, so that'll be quite handy. Looking forward to that. First things first, interesting that he's led with a priest there, his Northshire Cleric. These are kind of bait. People very much want to knock these out as soon as possible. In the absence of options, I can either coin into a... I don't want to actually attack him at this point, because that will let him heal next turn and draw cards. So I'd kind of like to try and wipe this priest out in one go. That is the risk as a priest if you're playing that card. Interestingly, he's dropped the Ancient Watcher. Now, of course, because that card can't attack, you very much expect it either to be silenced, so that it can, or it's followed up with something like a Defender of Argus or a Sun Fury Protector that gives it the taunt ability. So it will do one of two things. It will either become a wall, or it will become an attacking minion if it's silenced by something cheap. So with 2 mana, 3 mana of course with my slam, I can cleave, I can slam into a cleave. No I can't, I just don't quite have the mana at this point in time. I'm going to wait 1 turn and then hopefully I can kill that priest in one go and draw some cards. So for the time being I'm actually just going to armour up. Nothing wrong with that when you're playing a warrior deck, but just make sure that if you armour up too much in the early game and you're not getting minions on the table, it won't matter, as later in the game the opponent will probably have some kind of table advantage. And by table advantage of course I mean him pushing through and really nailing different bits and bobs. He'll have more minions than you and that'll be a bit more trouble. Right, again, we're turn 3. I can coin in to do a 2 mana play here. I'm going to go for a quite aggressive, okay, order is everything here. My slam, getting that slam in means that I get the card draw. Of course a nice shield block there as well, I'm quite happy with that, and then I'm going to go into a cleave. So the reason for that cleave, not only does it get rid of that priest in one go and he can't heal and draw cards, it also lets me actually get a little bit of damage on that Watcher. Not 100% necessary, however, if I want to drop an execute and get rid of it, I can, unless he decides to heal it up.
My shield for Argus.
There we go. As we expected, the Defender of Argus is in there. Circle of Healing, 4 health to all minions, makes him a very potent and viable tank. However, he forgets, and this is where we can show you one of our nice, shiny and happy combinations. If he silenced that, which I don't think he would, it would be quite a threat. I can draw cards. That's quite a dangerous attacking threat. Do you know what? I just want to get that off the table. So I'm going to drop a little slam, lets me draw another card, and then that lovely combo we talked about. Anything dealing some damage and execute. Get some damage on something, drop an execute afterwards, and it's gone. Now, one thing I've noticed with this Control Warrior deck while I've been playing it, as we wait for 2 cards from my opponent's deck and put them into my hand. And we see the priest, as a result, pull out a Fury War Axe and start swinging right at me. Hey, if that's all he's got, I'm not going to be too concerned for the time being. But I will have to keep an eye on it. I get an axe of my own. So, while we play this, I'll play this and then go back to my original train of thought. Let's have a look and see what we can do. A shield block would be quite nice. Acolyte of Pain is just going to go a bit of back and forth trading. In this situation, I'm going to shield block into a Fury War Axe. I've got my Cairn Bloodhoof, which is a fantastic piece of thing to have on the table. Using the armour, I'm going to use my weapon to keep his minions down. So that will be great. Hello to you in the chat. Just greeting some new people. It's great to have you live with us this evening. We're playing a bit of Control Warrior and just running through some ladder for this half hour, having a look at how the deck goes and performs. See, our priest has swung away with his weapon there, so he's got his free card and done some damage. He's got out the nice Chillwind Yeti. I don't have an execute. I do have an execute on me at this point in time. To keep my control going, I could really drop that. However, what I could really do is also get him thinking by dropping Cairn Bloodhoof. I've got 2 different options there. The reason that I'm gonna try the Cairn Bloodhoof option. The reason I'm gonna go with Cairn Bloodhoof, he's a really nice card in this deck. And I actually had him before and I disenchanted him, and then I regretted it because he's got a bunch of interesting uses. And the reason for it is that he really forces your opponent to deal with him. And there you go. He's going to attack, and there he's actually had to use 2 cards and effectively use up a turn when he could have been damaging me. And what's even better is that I come back out straight like this. I've got a Bane Bloodhoof, and I can swing in and do some more damage. So I've got some nice options here. Cleave will let me pick off, just drop some damage on both of these. So I'm going to go for a nice cleave into an execute here. Just double checking. Okay, I don't have a Frothing Berserker. Cleave lets me do 2 damage to 2 random minions. There's only 2 minions, so I'll happily take that. Now I've got a couple of options. I could swing in with my warrior, and actually I think that's what I'm going to do. I like saving these executes. If there's one thing I've learned recently, is that saving execute is great. There's always some time later in the game where there's some big, painful minion that comes out. What you'd rather have is an execute to remove it, rather than anything else.
Let me change your mind.
So a quick hello in the chat. Saving those executes, as I previously mentioned, can actually... It's tough knowing when to play them. It's one of the slight more subtleties of the deck that I've seen. You're very tempted to use all your executes early in the game, but you often find that later in the game you need that control as well. So I'm going to hang on to this execute for the time being. Time will tell if it was the right thing to do or not. We got to 8 mana, I've got my Grommash in my hand, I've got my big finishers, but what I want to do is get this priest's side of the deck under control. I do have some good options to be able to do that. Let's think. I could charge straight in with Grommash. I'm not actually going to take this guy straight out on either case. I could do 1 to a minion and give it 2 attack. That would then let me do a straight trade here. Dropping the Frothing Berserker could get a big threat on the table, and of course that Acolyte of Pain is passive draw power. So I'm going to hold my big finishes for the time being. What I'm going to do is... let's have a think. Ragnaros could randomly pick someone off. If I direct trade and give him a card, then Ragnaros could randomly pick him off. And the Cruel Taskmaster and Grommash combo is lovely. I'm going to take a risk. I'm going to take a risk. We know that our priest has mind controls in his deck, but he can't access them for another 2 mana. And there we go. Risk. I'm happy that it took the minion away. I was looking for a little bit of control, which was good fun. But the risk is that in 2 turns time, the priest is going to come straight out probably and just mind control this. And we can see that if he's stuck up a wall, it's going to be hard for me to get damage on the actual hero. But that's not going to be too much of a problem. What we just need to know is how we come and approach this from this point. So I can stick some damage on with Bane to this tank. Could be a nice option. I can actually do the Cruel Taskmaster and do 1 damage and then execute, which I think I'm going to do because that will remove. Just work this out. The play order here is quite important. I'm probably want a bit more armour as well, just in case someone's going to swing at me. I could drop a Frothing Berserker to really put the pressure on. Could open up some removal from him in terms of damage to minions. I'm going to drop the. Let's try this Frothing Berserker play and see how it works out. So that's the 1 damage. Don't forget, with the Cruel Taskmaster I can also damage my opponent's minions. The Execute will fly in, and remove the big tanky minion. I'm then going to remove with Bane that final piece, and of course all this damage is buffing up this Frothing Berserker. I could have even dropped 2 of those. I'm actually going to keep the last couple of mana just to armour up as well.
Let me change your mind.
Hello to the chat, and we've had a mind control. He's taken a 2 or less attack minion, so that's, do you know what, I can deal with that. Now we're in danger actually here of a circle of healing. That Organized Soul Priest, as we've shown in our previous episodes, a very dangerous card indeed, particularly if it's combined with the free Circle of Healing, that basically just means it will do 4 damage rather than 4 healing, and to all minions as well. So if I play this turn out correctly, I can really get myself in the game. Raggy will keep doing his damage. He doesn't have a mind control at this point in time. I need to be careful of that. What I need to do is trade as much off the table as possible so I can get the odds reasonably stacked in my favour. How can I go about this? Well, I've got Grommash, which I can still charge him with and do some damage. If I can clear everything from the table, that would be ideal, but I'm not going to be able to. The Armour Smith will let me stack up some additional armour, and I think if I do take some damage from Ragnaros, that could be handy. So let us. We're going to go with a minion play here. And what we're going to do is drop a Frothing Berserker. We're going to drop an Armour Smith. Really stack up some pressure. In fact, you know what, we're going to go all out. But I really needed to remove this. This is danger, so I'm going to get rid of that. And note that all of those trigger, and then trigger some armour as well, which is very, very nice. I'm going to pick off the 1 other minion that I can actually pick off. Goodbye Bane, you've been a great servant. And you can see now how much danger I've got on this side of the table. And finally, Raggy will probably... Oh, he does some damage to the hero on this control. This priest is, as the chat says, quite a little bit unlucky with his mind control. However, we've managed to show you really, really great as an example, actually. This is how, in an ideal world, this control warrior deck should come out. This is how it should play. And this priest has been unlucky, but he's doing pretty good. Question from the chat: how many legendaries do you have in this deck? I actually have 3. So I've got Ragnaros, he was my first legendary. I saved up and scrimped, I played some arenas, and I crafted a Grommash, and then I managed to grab myself a Cairn Bloodtooth as well. So 3 legendaries in this one, but there are versions which have even 7, 6. Oh, a lot of pain there as well from our priest. We've seen him heal, but notice that with the actual move he did there of the Holy Nova, look at all of that damage that he did, but you've noted that he didn't pick off all of my minions, and he actually stuck me on 9 armour. He did remove the 2 very damaging, the damaging Frothing Berserker, of course. So let's say that's absolutely fair play. 2 Frothing Berserkers off the table that could have really just knocked him straight down. As is, we're in a good position, I think, to be able to actually go ahead and try and finish this up. Let's see what our options are. I'm not going to meta talk, that would be cruel. But what I am going to do is go for the simple play. Grommash, when he's enraged, has 10, with the extra 2 from the Cruel Taskmaster, he has 12, and I can just run straight in for the victory there. Gelbin does not get out on this occasion. Well played to my opponent. And that, do you know what, that's a fantastic first example of how the idea of Control Warrior should work in a nice bit of practice. But let's see what else we come up against on the ladder for about, I don't know, the next 15-20 minutes or so.
versus Uther.
So when control warrior of a sort goes well. Oh, what's going on here? We've had a big gold ring around the edges, and now is Hearthstone feeling a little bit fun. Hello, Hearthstone. Why has he left? What have I disconnected?
I will fight
No,
with
just a
honor.
little bit of lag, and we're straight into the game. Okay, we got Brawl there. That's not going to be any good first turn. Neither is Defender of Argus, neither is a Cruel Taskmaster. Not the greatest turn one hand in the world. So I've traded that on in, and let's see what's going on. I will happily take that any day of the week. Execute a Slam for that card draw, and then it's good to save Shield Slam for a little bit later in the game. Let us see what our Paladin friend comes up with here. So Shield Slam, I love to jump into later in the game. It's a really useful card. Brilliant, just sort of synergy, a really good combination with just everything that this deck is trying to do. As a control warrior or as a warrior, you have the opportunity to put so much armor on yourself. So being able to do 1 damage to a minion for every armor that you have is absolutely...
Job's done.
Really, really handy. So we just said hello to the chat and straight back into the game. So I've just picked a Fury War Axe as well on turn 2. So I'm pretty happy with that. Let me get some control on the Paladin and let us see what this Paladin is going to be up to. Firstly, he's actually really baited me there. He's dropped a Master Swordsmith and he's coined into it. So do you know what? That is a no-brainer. Not only will that card, as we can see, it gives another random friendly minion 1 attack every turn. I'm perfectly happy to take that off the table and take the 1 damage.